How's it going, everyone? It's Danny. Welcome back to another video. Where today we are continuing Friday and Fridays, and today's Friday and Fridays videos are all going to be by Llama Arts, all of them. Today we actually have about 10 of them. No wait, yeah, no, 11. We have 11 stories by Llama Arts, and I'm sure that they're all going to be scary. Give us chills a little bit as the last how much has it been? 7, 8? I don't know, but let's go and get started. This first one is called House Sitting Horror Stories Animated, so by Llama Arts, and today, since I have a so today on this first one is called House Sitting Horror Stories Animated, and and once again, all these videos are by Llama Arts, and all the original videos will be in link in the description below, as always. The original channel and all original videos, link in the description. Go check them out. I'm pretty sure they're all going to be good. Without any further ado, let's go and get started. In 3, 2, 1, play. House Sitting Horror Stories. Oh god. The video hasn't even started and I'm already in chills.
A couple weeks ago, my dad came home and pitched me a small job offer. One of his coworkers was going away for a few days and needed somebody he could trust to watch over his house. The reason my dad pitched this to me was because the man's house has a big CCTV system. Basically a camera in every room, and then an operating desk where all screens could be watched on a big monitor.
No, I don't like one of those CCTV cameras or whatever. So because imagine I'm just sitting there watching on the playback, and I'm like, please don't let anyone be there, please don't let anyone be there, please don't let anyone be there. I'd be terrified.
Whatever that meant. My dad drove me to the house and introduced me to the man, whose name doesn't matter. The man made it seem like he preferred I stay in the upstairs room with the monitors as opposed to
dude said, straight up said, his name doesn't matter.
So when I wasn't eating, I was
don't worry about
sitting
kids.
in that room with the TV on in the background.
That box say fish dicks.
Ironically, the thing I was doing the least was keeping an eye on the monitors. Night came. I started wondering where in the house I should sleep, since surprisingly we hadn't discussed that. So I sat back down at the desk and looked at all the different rooms on the screens to see which rooms had beds or couches. I noticed something I wasn't expecting to notice, though. The back screen door was open downstairs.
No! This is exactly what I was talking about!
I threw each and every camera screen in a panic. In the living room, a closet door was open. This one I knew wasn't open earlier.
That's the face of I'm
texted my dad to call the man and ask him if he came back home. Meanwhile, I continued watching the screen. On the grainy, dark image, a tall person who resembled only a black. This
house looks straight up like the house from the from Paranormal Activity.
I took my arms off the desk as I covered my mouth with my hands in shock. As I did this, however, my left elbow pulled some heavy object from the desk onto the floor, creating a big thud. The person very clearly moved their head up to the stairs as a response to the noise. They went for the stairs, walking up very, very slowly, step by step. Meanwhile, I got a text back from my dad saying, "No, he's not. I just spoke to him half an hour ago. Why?" I got so caught up in my phone texting my dad to send help that I didn't even pay attention to the monitor. There was a
No!
I looked at it and then the screens. The first screen I laid my eyes on was the one showing the person outside the door to the room I was in. When I remembered that door had no lock, the only thing I could think to do was jump out the window into the bushes below. I ran halfway down the block and then stopped when my dad called me. I had him call his friend and ask him if he was expecting somebody in the house. The man said he had no relatives or friends who had his key or would ever let themselves into his home. So he called the cops and had them review the footage. I got to watch all of it, and it showed everything. From the moment the intruder broke the glass to the backyard door, to the moment I jumped out the window and him running away shortly after. The intruder was never found. The footage was just too dark to identify his face.
Dang, bro. Because again, I can never have one of those CCTV cameras in my house, because I imagine I'm just going to the security room and I'm watching the playback video of all the things that the cameras recorded, and I'm all like, please don't see anybody, please don't see anybody, please don't see anybody. Oh my gosh, no, that's not me, bro. That's not me, bro. But that was fire as usual. Let's move on to the next one. Alright guys, so this next one is called Scary True Horror Stories Animated. No, it's not a real title.
I'm 27 years old.
Doesn't really explain
in a rural town in Virginia, about
what's going on in this video
from my parents.
But I'm sure the guys
My parents are both in their 60s, and my mom has become a very worrisome woman in her old age. Sometimes she walks over uninvited and lets herself in, since I had regrettably given her a key, which can get a bit
that's Naomi, because
like
she lives right across the street from my house.
Or with women, I would
this
sometimes
house.
come home to my mom sitting in the living room
This is my mom's house.
worried sick. I know you may just think, oh my god, that's crazy, why not just put your foot down and tell her to stop?
Well, no, that would mean.
Because you don't know my mom. It's very hard to describe her, but she's the kind of worrisome, innocent little lady that you just can't bring yourself to go against. And I hate to mention, she also has mild dementia.
Oh.
Anyway, this was Saturday night. I think it was around 2 in the morning. I was at a nearby club with a group of college friends. Really the only place to hang out in this boring town. And I was getting ready to head home. I said goodbye to all my friends and walked the 3 blocks it took to get back to my house. I walked up my front stoop in my drunken haze and dug my hand in my pocket for my keys. When I grabbed the doorknob, I realized it was unlocked. My mom was here again. I quietly opened and shut the front door, locking it behind me. I put my keys on the kitchen counter and found a note written in my mom's handwriting saying, "You forgot this at our house, next to the box of half-eaten cake my parents didn't want." I didn't see my mom anywhere, so I assumed she must have gone upstairs to sleep in the guest bed until I got back, which is something she would commonly do as well. Then I heard footsteps upstairs, confirming it.
It's not her.
That's when I sighed once again. 27 years old, almost 3 in the morning, and she still has to wait up and treat me like a child. I ran upstairs to check the guest bed, empty, along with all the bathrooms. I was afraid Mom was having one of her
Where's the
episodes
intruder?
due to her condition, so I ran to the phone to call my dad.
Probably in the closet.
After 4 rings, my dad picked up in a groggy voice, asking what the hell is the matter. After I told him that I heard Mom wandering
She's in bed in
around
my
upstairs
house.
in my house, there was a short
Son.
pause, and then he said, "That's not possible, she's sleeping."
No!
My mouth fell open as I turned my head to face the dark upstairs, and just barely by the light provided by the kitchen, I could see a head peering around from the corner at the top of the stairs, looking down at me. I screamed into the out the front door and down the street to my parents' house, explaining to my father on the way.
What was that? That was no human!
Call the cops, and hung up. I made it to my parents' house, where my mom was already waiting at the door, worried sick. My mom explained that she did come over to clean my kitchen a little bit and to bring over the cake they didn't want.
Yo!
These cars pulled up.
My hands are for real shaking, guys!
My dad down the street to my house. One officer stayed outside with us, while 2 others went inside.
Nah, he long gone.
It felt like 15 minutes before they came back outside and said it was clear. They checked the crawl space, the attic, everything. There was really nothing for me to report, other than the door was left unlocked and I saw the outline of a head upstairs before I ran for it. Still, I didn't feel safe sleeping in there that night, so I went back to my parents' house. Me and my dad are certain that my mom simply forgot to lock the door when she left, as her memory has been getting worse over the past
What was
few
that thing,
months.
guys?
My dad has been stopping her from coming over alone from now on, which makes me both sad but also relieved. Some nights, I still get paranoid that whoever was in my house that night never left, and is still hiding in
No,
there
I'm moving.
somewhere.
Stabs him in his sleep. Okay, so this next one is called Allegedly True Creepy Thunderstorm Horror Stories Animated. What do you mean allegedly true? Does that mean it didn't happen or it didn't? It says allegedly. You know what? Let's just go ahead and start into this. Allegedly? Is it true or not? Come on, Llama! Alright, true creepy thunderstorm horror story. Allegedly. Allegedly!
In the year 2009, I was spending a weekend with my uncle on his ranch when my parents were renovating the new house we had just bought. It was my second night there, a Saturday, and it happened to be during one of the biggest thunderstorms of the year. I'd say there were at least 3 crashes of thunder and lightning per minute. And we were in the heart of the storm, because the thunder would crash not even a second after the lightning would. I always enjoyed listening to storms while laying in bed. So I stayed up a little later watching TV, just enjoying the ambiance.
Are you watching Martyrs?
I was watching finally ended. I turned off the TV.
Are you watching Martyrs? I'm never sleeping after watching that movie.
As I heard the lightning strike from outside, I could have sworn I heard some kind of metallic thud coming from outside at the same time. I didn't pay it too much mind. 20 seconds later.
No, that was definitely a crowbar.
A very distinct metallic thud coming from outside to match the timing of the lightning. I really don't mean to make it sound like a
waiting there
horror story,
with the crowbar in his hand, about to.
My uncle really is
and then
a kind of
lightning crashes.
Guy, and I was never close with him, even remotely. So for that reason, I didn't feel right going to wake him up. I just tried to forget about it.
Wait for it. Bam! There you go.
Now I was getting concerned. What the hell could that be? After the 3rd time, I finally got out of bed and walked over to the window of the guest bedroom. The water pouring down on the window made it extra hard to see what was out there in the dark fields. A flash of lightning momentarily lit up the property, but I couldn't see anything. However, once again, the sound of a metal hit accompanied it. The sound was so close now, it sounded like it was coming from the left of the window at a blind spot. I was going to do something I knew my uncle wouldn't be happy about. It would be a bit messy, but I was going to open the window and peer outside to see if I could see what the sound was. I unhooked the window lock and slid it up, and immediately the wind of the storm blew drops of rain into the room and onto me. I stuck my head out the window and looked to the left, and at that very moment, lightning lit up the property once again, and I could see a person dressed in all black crouched down by the outside basement door with his hand raised in the air. And before the sky went dark, I caught the briefest glimpse of what the sound was coming from. The person was bashing at the basement door lock. I pulled my head in and quietly shut the window, making sure to lock it. I was in a panic.
Close the curtains! What are you doing?
I ran back to bed and pretended to be asleep, facing away from the window. Lightning crashed once
Close the
again,
curtains!
but this time, there was no metallic thud. My heart must have dropped as I realized this.
Well, wait, you live upstairs. I didn't do this on the floor.
For the longest time, hoping whoever was out there would go away. After maybe 3 more lightning crashes without any thuds accompanying them, I thought it would be safe to go tell my uncle. I turned to face the window and screamed. There was a figure, clear as day, standing at the window, looking in at me. I screamed as loud as I could and ran straight to my uncle's room. He went outside with his hunting rifle with nothing on but his pajamas, not even socks. He ran around the entire property yelling like a madman, but didn't find anyone. The next morning we were able to better see the marks on the basement door lock. It was almost bashed open. Maybe 3 or 4 more good hits would have done it, according to my uncle. He was proud of me for picking up on it. Luckily I was out of there that same day. My uncle hasn't told us of any incidents, so I think he's been okay. Not that we talked to him much at all. I'm grateful I stayed up a little later that night watching that movie, because I may have just stopped
Martyrs,
or possibly much worse.
Yeah, no, there's no way it was just a robbery. He lives on a farm. What kind of money is he looking for on a farm? Get out of here, bruh. Alright guys, so this next one is called Hide and Seek Stories Animated. So let's check this out. I've played Hide and Seek many times before. I even made a video on it. But yeah, I never got a horror story out of Hide and Seek.
Would sometimes bring me down to my aunt and uncle's place to stay for the weekend. Mainly, I'd spend time playing with my 2 cousins who were around the same age as me. They lived on a small farm with plenty of open space, and we could run around doing pretty much whatever we wanted. If we thought we could get away with it, the 3 of us would sometimes cross over to the neighboring farm about half a mile away. It had been abandoned for decades, with a scattering of derelict buildings and other structures still standing on the property. Just
I'm not hiding in there!
This was a
No!
gold mine for 3 adventurous young boys such as ourselves, especially after my cousins told me stories about the deaths that took place in the house. It was pretty classic fare. Man goes crazy, axe murders his entire family, hangs himself, returns every night as an angry spirit looking for new victims. Good, grisly stuff. Even at that age, I knew they were probably
No,
making
that's
it up,
Shining.
or at least
What are you talking
embellishing
about?
with rumors.
It's from The Shining.
But seeing as how the setting lent itself so well to such tales, I allowed myself to buy into it. One afternoon, we decided to play hide and seek. When it was my turn to hide, I ran off for a flimsy brown barn that had living quarters on top and climbed the stairs looking for a good spot.
Look at that thing! It's haunted!
There was still furniture inside, and personal belongings lay scattered across the floor. I maneuvered over broken dishes, tattered clothes, and crumbling
Stupid
books,
white kid.
eventually coming to a small room with a closet. Jackpot. There were even long black dresses
With
still
that,
hanging on the rod
with
that I
that
could hide
painting
behind.
over that, what was
I
that,
stepped
a
inside
fireplace?
and managed to
No!
force shut the folding door.
Yeah, it's a fireplace. No!
My only
I'm waiting
illumination
for that,
was a slit of
that
sunlight
painting
that
on
shone
the
through
stair
crack
right
in
at
the
me,
door
like...
from a nearby window. I crouched down with knees tucked into chest and waited. Some time passed, and there was still no sign of my seekers. I waited some more, debating if and when I should give myself up. After nearly an hour, this was starting to get boring. My head drooped. I woke with a jerk. It was pitch black. Drowsy and confused, I forgot for a minute where I was or what I had been doing. As it came back to me, the realization that it was now nighttime and that I had been abandoned here filled me with sinking dread in the pit of my stomach. I tried to get up, but a sudden cramp in my calf kept me grounded.
Oh, your legs fell
I
asleep.
squirmed about, waiting for it to pass, when I heard a door slamming shut downstairs.
Oh, the creepy doll on the floor.
One of my cousins? There was a brief period of silence, then footsteps at the bottom of the stairs. But not just footsteps, a thud too. After every other step. These weren't the footfalls of a child. They were slow, heavy, deliberate. I held my breath, praying they would go away. They did not. The noises continued to ascend.
Oh, the doll's looking at me. I'm putting my hand over it.
After another moment of silence, the walking resumed. This time along with a steady scraping sound, like something heavy being dragged across the floorboards.
Please let that be a deer.
Footsteps made their way through the debris and wandered aimlessly through the various rooms.
Or a chicken.
I thought I could smell something faintly putrid. The constant scrape sent cold shivers coursing down my arms and back. My worst fears were realized when the steps reached the bedroom doorway. They got closer and closer, and finally stopped directly in front of the closet door. I couldn't see a thing. After an agonizing pause, they continued on, over to the other side of the room and out the doorway again. They faded away down the hallway. I waited for what seemed like an eternity. There were no more sounds now, and I was trying to build up enough courage to open the door and flee. 3 things happened simultaneously just then. I was bombarded with a smell I can only describe as fresh roadkill.
Ugh.
I heard raspy breathing behind me in the dark closet, and I felt hot breath against the nape of my neck.
Hot breath.
That was enough for me to hurtle myself out from the confines of that nightmare space, relying on memory and scant moonlight to navigate through the darkened house. All the while, I heard
Stupid
footsteps
doll!
chasing behind me, closing in with terrifying speed.
Oh, go, go!
Clumsy, torturous escape.
No!
Trips and bumps.
Stop
and blind
it! You're
stumbling.
describing every single horror movie cliche!
At least, not until I had burst out
Run!
the front door
What are
and
you
into the creepy
doing?
night.
Dumb
And when I
kid!
did turn around, I saw absolutely nothing. There were no more footsteps, and nobody was chasing me. That didn't stop me from running, though, all the way back to my aunt and uncle's house. There was a police car in the driveway when I got back. My parents were there too, worried sick. Everybody demanded to know where I had been.
Is that Jimmy Neutron's
Apparently, when
mom?
my cousins still hadn't found me by evening, they'd returned home to tell their parents. Eventually, the police were called in and informed me that they had already scoured every building on the farm. The insinuation that I was lying about my whereabouts didn't go unnoticed. None of it made any sense. It wasn't until years later that one of my cousins filled in a final piece of the story. He and his brothers had spent hours searching for me like they said, but the part they didn't tell anyone was that they thought they spotted me in the window of the bedroom I was hiding in. And when they got closer,
The ghost.
they saw that it wasn't me. A young boy neither of them recognized was smiling and waving down at them and gesturing for them to come upstairs. That's
No!
when they ran back home. All of this while I slept in the closet.
Bolt cut! Bolt cut, ghost kid! Heck no, bro! Alright guys, so this next one is called True Craigslist Horror Story. Now, I'm pretty sure we all know how this, on this guy did a horror story out of Craigslist.
Car websites, cars.com, eBay Motors.
Which is why I never use one of those sites where you have to meet up with the person.
Craigslist was the only place to
Not
find
me.
an actual deal. About a week into my search, I found an '03 Toyota Camry. It had 67,000 miles, no accidents, no damage, and good condition for only $3,500. This seems like a steal for such a reliable car with such low mileage. The seller lived about 10 miles from me, which was a reasonable drive when looking for a car. I gave him a call to set up a time to come check it out. The man
Why
sounded
does this dude
normal
like
on the phone.
Diego?
He assured me that
Go,
there were
Diego,
absolutely
go!
no
Oh!
problems with the car. He introduced himself as Bob. I brought along $3,500
Bob?
in cash, even though I planned on wiggling down the price as much as possible.
I bet you he came up with that name on the top of his head.
Bob's property about 15 minutes early. It was a tiny little house with a decent sized
Driving a
property,
Miata?
only because
my
it was
boy?
a bit far from the nearest neighbors. The garage was open, so I walked over to see if anybody was inside, but except for an unusual amount of car parts, it was empty. The car was nowhere in sight. The only car on the property was an old pickup truck. I went over to
Take
the front
that and
door to
go.
check the house numbers. It was the right address. The doorbell button was missing, so I knocked on the front door. I knocked for exactly 5 minutes before deciding to give the man a call. So I dialed his number and I heard the sound of a cell phone ringing from inside the house. I was extremely confused at this point. Now I knew I had the right house. I didn't understand why, if he was home, why he wasn't answering.
Dude's flabbergasted.
I
He's
decided I
so
had to take a peek
confused.
through one of the windows to see if anybody was inside. Peering through the glass, I couldn't really see much as it was pretty dark inside the house.
I thought the blinds were closed.
I saw a very old-fashioned dining room set, but across from that, I saw somebody standing at the back door of the house, staring outside. I figured that must have been Bob, so I knocked on the window, but he didn't even move. There was no gate or anything to the backyard. It was just a wide-open yard, since this wasn't a rural area. I simply walked
Oh,
around
no,
the
you're
house
gonna
to
die,
the
bro.
backyard. I didn't understand how he couldn't hear me. When I got to the back door, I made a shocking realization. The figure standing by the door was a taxidermy
Shaquille O'Neal?
being.
Oh!
What the hell is even that?
I ran straight back the way I came and back to my car. I looked up one last time before driving off. The blinds to the window I had peeked into had been shut, but I could see two of the blinds bent open.
Is that a hook?
Somebody was at that window.
Does dude have a hook?
You can probably
Hey, Captain
guess out
Hook?
the gas pedal to the floor the whole way home. The whole situation
Save me,
still made
speed,
some
looking
sense.
ass.
All the car parts, the fact that there was no Toyota Camry, the taxidermied human being, the fact that there was no car there. leads
Why
me
you
to
take the
believe
truck?
that whoever that man was wasn't planning on selling me anything. And that also leads to the disturbing thought that I was very close to becoming a lifeless statue staring out that man's back door.
Oh, no. I don't like that thought. Alright guys, so the next one is called True Craigslist Story 2. Got a sequel. I'm
This story
really
took place a long time
surprised.
ago, back in 2002, when Craigslist was in its early years. Many wouldn't know, but back in those days, Craigslist was a lot different. It was a lot more so an online garage sale, or just a place where people would list old things that still had some value that they were willing to give away. I got a basketball hoop, a hockey net, and a spoiler for my car, all free in perfect condition in that same year. You'd be lucky if you found something like that these days. Anyway, me and my son were dying to buy a hockey net so we
Okay.
could practice in the cul-de-sac we lived in. For the record, this was before I got that free one I mentioned. Wouldn't you know it, on Craigslist there was an ad for a slightly used regulation-size hockey goal for only $50. It came with a puck and 2 slightly used hockey sticks.
Is that good? I know nothing about hockey.
It seemed like the perfect deal, but he lived about 2 hours away. I called the number he had listed, and he sounded pretty normal on the phone. He had a pretty deep, dark voice, but nothing that would be off-putting. I remember his voice being a bit emotionless. He agreed to meet halfway due to the distance, said he'd put the stuff in the back of his pickup truck. He said he could only come after he got off from work though, which was much later in the day, way past dark. We agreed to meet at some rest stop off the highway. Me and my son, who was 11 at the time, took my wife's minivan, the only car that would be able to fit that huge thing. Within an hour, we were at the truck stop, which was empty at this hour, but was decently lit by 3 big light posts.
Nope, you're gonna die.
I parked right under one of the lights and waited.
Rookie move.
A pickup truck pulled in off the highway right on time. He stopped right in front of me. I went over to his window, but then noticed there was nothing in the back of his truck.
No!
You Steve? Yes.
You Steve? What are you, the mafia?
Yep, that's me, I said.
Wait, you Steve?
Alright, my buddy's bringing in the stuff with his truck. The guy pulled up behind my car and put it in park. I suddenly had a bad feeling. I told my son to get back in the car and lock every door except mine. 2 more pairs of headlights came off the highway into the lots, surely enough pulling up next to me. And, not surprisingly at this point, there was no hockey equipment in either one of them. My heart was racing. I was worried. Not for me, but for my young son who I for some reason brought with me on this trip.
Oh yeah, he pulled himself in that car.
A group of large men mixed
seat.
with heavy-set and muscular physiques stepped out of the 2 pickup trucks behind the first one. They eyed me from head to toe,
Is that Walter White?
giving that typical intimidation stare down.
Maybe they want to have a hockey match in the parking lot.
Sunglasses said in a deep voice, "Where's the money?"
Oh yeah, you Walter White, bro.
I instantly pulled out my wallet and handed it to him, begging him to just let me and my son go. He pulled out like $100 and was pissed, expecting more.
Even though the original hockey net was for like, what, $50?
At this point,
I gave you extra, bro.
Begged for him not to take him. One of the men broke the glass to the minivan back door, and I vividly remember the disturbing, heartbreaking screams of my young son. What happened next was what I can only explain to be a miracle from God answering my prayers. A car was entering the lot from off the highway. All the men stopped and turned to look at it. As it got closer, my heart literally dropped in excitement as I saw it was a police car. The lights suddenly began to flash as he got close enough to see what was going on. All of the men were back in the trucks
F this!
speeding off down the highway. Well, at least 2 of them. The truck in the back was caught immediately by the police car, and backup arrived shortly. I explained everything to them, and they got the men that were caught to rat out on the others surprisingly quickly. I guess luckily the guys in the back truck weren't very loyal to whoever their leader was, if they even had any type of leader. Believe it or not, I had a police escort all the way home to make me and my son feel safer. I don't want to get into all the legal stuff, but I'll just say that all of those men except for one was caught, and I'm pretty sure that was the driver of the first pickup truck. Needless to say, my Craigslist days weren't over at that point, but I have always been much more protective of my son, and much more cautious of Craigslist meetings since then.
Okay, good. Well, at least he's more conscious, more caution. Alright, Dustin, this next one is called Motel. Animated. Just a motel, not a true motel horror story, just a motel. Animated.
I was 19 years old at the time, working at a sketchy motel. The motel was pretty run down, and the majority of people who stayed there were locals that were just doing things they weren't supposed to be doing.
That guy have a badge over his head?
Let's just say the cops came by times a week.
They just shot him in the head!
Front desk person checking in these creeps all hours of the night,
last
housekeeper who got to clean up their nasty, vomit-smelling rooms afterwards. One afternoon, I was working as a housekeeper in the second building of the motel, on the backside furthest from the office. I hated working over there because it not only had the most worn-down rooms, but it was always pretty vacant over there and way too quiet for comfort. I began cleaning one of my last rooms and wanted to get done in a hurry because it was getting late.
This girl looks like that one girl from...
I was watching the mirror in the room
Alice from
cleaning,
Alice in
and all of a
Wonderland.
sudden, I saw a man in the reflection staring at me. He was mid-50s, dirty, with long, greasy hair. Startled, I screamed, "Oh my god." I told him he scared me. The room I was currently cleaning was vacant, so there was no reason why this man should have been in there watching me clean. However, we just had a meeting on customer satisfaction, and my boss was really pressuring us to be more polite and help the guests
In a sketchy motel? No.
Sir? I asked him cautiously.
That's not gonna happen. Yeah, she looks. She looks like what's her name? Alice from Wonderland.
His hands to me. I thought maybe he was handing me a tip for cleaning his room earlier, but when I looked down, I saw he was holding a $100 bill. Alarms started going off in my head. No one tips $100 on a $40 a night room. The man just smiled and said his name was Terry. He said he was staying in the room next door with his wife Sherry, and sort of joked about their names rhyming. He smelled like car oil and alcohol. When I asked him why he was trying to hand me $100, he laughed deep in his throat and said, "Me and my wife were watching you, and we just wanted to have fun with you." I felt like my heart jumped into my throat. No, I can't do that, sir, I'm sorry. I wanted to run out of the room screaming, but he was blocking the door, my only exit. The man smiled
do that thing where you're like, okay, let's go. You guys walk out the room, and then boom!
His friends.
Get out of there!
I nervously told him no again, and that I had a lot of work to do for the day. I prayed to God he would just go away, and eventually he did.
Oh, okay, good.
He grunted and walked off in what I assumed to be the direction of his room. My mind began racing. There is no wife, I thought. This man could try and kidnap me. I was 110 pounds at the time and not very strong. He could easily overpower me.
She's a lot more smarter than the other blonde white girls in horror movies.
But the phone wasn't working.
That's how I know that she's a final girl.
Through my veins, and despite what I was always told
she's
not
smart.
to do, I was panicking. Did he cut the line? No, I thought. This is a crappy motel. It happens all the time. But I just have to get out. I remembered that I had my cell phone out on my housekeeping card.
No!
But that was outside the locked door. I'd have to open the door to get it. I cautiously opened the door to the room that I was cleaning and peered out. I didn't see anyone, so I frantically began searching my cart for my cell phone.
Go, 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 go!
I was wasting too much time looking for it, so I just decided to run as fast as I could and make a break for the front desk in the office. Then from behind me, I heard the man again, but this time he was screaming to someone else. She's running, she's getting away. I could hear him slamming against the pavement after me. I quickly turned the corner, grabbed my keycard, and let myself into a stockroom and locked the door. Within moments, I heard the sound of the dirty guy and someone else running outside, searching for me. I stayed in that stockroom for 30 minutes shaking until I could no longer hear him searching.
Guys, my hands are shaking again.
I got the courage to run the rest of the way to the front desk.
That was horrifying.
When I made it there, I collapsed into my boss's arms and he called the police. The man and whoever else was in the room
was that a blood stain on the wall?
The cops could arrive, and I was beyond shaken up. According to the police who ran a search, this wasn't the first time he had done something like this, and he was actually wanted for sexual assault, gross sexual imposition, and in the past was once charged with rape. A few weeks later, on what happened to be my birthday, this guy was caught. A few weeks after that, I quit.
Yo.
I will never again work at another motel.
Bruh. Clap that up. Let's just clap that up, guys. Llama Arts and Mr. Nightmare, who I just learned is the narrator of these stories, which is so awesome. Mr. Nightmare reads the stories submitted by these people, and then Llama Arts just brings it to life. I love that about Llama Arts. Please go check out Llama Arts. But we got a few more to check out. This is the 7th video, and we're about to move on to our 8th. So let's do this. Alright guys, so this last video of a bus stop horror story animated. I never used the bus stop.
This happened when I was 17 years old. I would go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week and ride the bus home.
Oh, this is
It was
a
Sunday,
new
and I
narrator.
just missed
Anyway,
my bus,
as I was
so
saying,
I had to wait longer for
I
another one.
have used the bus
I
before,
would have
but
called
back
my
when I was in
parents,
daycare
but
and
they were out
pre-K.
for the evening,
No, not pre-K.
and taxes
when I was-
charged more,
I
so I
was
decided
in
to sit
daycare.
and wait in the bus shelter.
There was a bus that
It was a
took
cold
us.
night, and snow had just started peppering the ground. My bus was taking longer than usual, so I got my phone out and listened to some music.
But this is a new narrator.
Almost an hour had passed. It was freezing, and I hadn't seen anyone at all. That was until I noticed something out of the corner of my eye.
Oh God.
It was a creepy guy dressed in thick layers of clothing,
wait.
walking slowly towards me.
He was just
I
like
knew
that from the
staring at
hotel
him would
story.
draw more attention, so I just focused on my phone. He sat down at the other end of the shelter and just stared at me. There was something off about him. He seemed like he was either drunk or on drugs. He then asked,
"What does the bus do?"
I took out my
Did you say what
earphones
does the
and
bus
said,
do?
I think
Bruh,
it's delayed
you ever heard of
because of the snow.
the wheels on the bus go round
He
and
stared
round,
at me for a
round and
while,
round,
then
round.
started
Get outta
mumbling
here, bro.
to himself. He was really starting to creep me out, so I pretended to be on my phone. After a couple of minutes, I took another look. He'd moved closer to me. I looked away for a second, then heard the sound of him sliding even
It's like one of those
closer.
cartoons. You look at
I
someone, they're
turned to him
pretty
and
far,
said,
and you look
"You
away,
okay there?"
they're even further.
He stared at me with glossy eyes, lifted his arm, and leaned towards me. Immediately, I grabbed my bag and ran as he fell to the ground. I ran down the road,
But yeah, no,
trying my hardest
that
not
dude
to
was
look
shit
back.
like the guy
I
from the
kept
hotel
going
story.
until I got to the next
Well,
bus stop.
near the end, only said that he went on the
I
run,
turned around
so
to check to
maybe
see
this
if
is
he
why
was
he was
there.
still on the run.
He was gone, so I went to sit down. Feeling relieved, I rested my head on the back of the glass and waited for the
Why
bus.
would you go back? I'm running home.
I jolted and turned around to see the same guy staring
What
at
is
me
your
through
deal?
the glass.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, for real.
Then he started walking around the shelter towards me.
I'm warning you, stay back.
I
Bro,
yelled
you
in
ain't gonna do
panic as I
nothing.
was
Calm
backing
that
up.
voice down.
I wanted to run, but I left my bag in the shelter and I couldn't leave without it.
I'm gonna get real angry.
Suddenly, the man leaped at me and I quickly moved out of the way. He fell to the ground face first. I froze in shock and noticed the
Bro
blood
just
coming from
bodied
his face.
himself.
I tried to get a response out of him, but nothing worked.
Bro just
I called the
bodied
police and
himself.
paramedics and they arrived shortly after. I told them what had happened and they told me that the guy was on prescription drugs. They found a photo in his wallet of him and his son. The boy looked just like me, so we assumed he thought I was him. I later learned that he had lost his son in a custody battle and went off the rails. He was taken away for treatment, and that was the last I saw of him.
That was at the
I
motel
got
that
my
he was at
driver's
too.
license shortly after, and have never been on a bus since.
Wait, he was right there. He was right there. Hold on. I'm gonna pause at the right time. Look.
I got my driver's license shortly after,
Oh wait.
and have never
Look,
been on a
look.
bus since.
Look, he's right there. Hiding in the bushes. He's like, I'm gonna wait for him until he drives back. Bro, you crazy, dog. Alright guys, so this next one is called True Home Alone Stories Episode 1.
It was very common
There's
for
actually
me to
3
be
of these,
home
so
alone,
we're gonna check out the first
as
one,
I
and
only
then
lived
2
with
others,
my
and then
dad,
one more, and then we're done with
shifts would
this episode.
constantly shift from days to nights. This happened around the time my dad was doing night shifts. I would stay up really late on these nights watching movies. It's always taken me a long time to fall asleep, so after turning off the TV to go to sleep, I probably laid there for a good half hour. Then, I heard a toy fall over in my toy closet. It was nothing
Is Johnny
too
Test
suspicious,
your
but
barber?
it still creeps me out. But then, the doorknob to my closet started to wiggle, until finally unlocking the door. I hid under my covers, not
Is it a
making
demon?
sound. It was strangely quiet for a good 2 minutes, so I finally peeked my head out of the covers. There was a figure standing next to my bed, looking down at me. I screamed at the top of my lungs and began hugging the wall behind me. The figure looked out the window and then just walked away out of the room. I stayed in that position for like an hour.
Why is it like he's
before
wearing
checking if he was
a
really
gas
gone.
mask?
The front door was left wide open, so it seemed he had left.
He was wearing a gas
I
mask.
didn't get a minute of sleep that night.
I want to either. Call the cops. What are you doing? Alright, the next one is called True Home Alone Stories, Episode 2.
This story is from the point of view of a 16-year-old girl.
Okay.
I used to have a boy living next door to me that was obsessed with me. His name was Joey. Every time I would go outside, Joey would come outside as well, as if he were watching me through his windows, waiting for me. He was 17 and very weird, and he didn't seem to have any friends, as he was always home. I tried to give every
Well, no wonder he's calling the
turns
turns back like, hi.
The message.
Like he calls some friends over. He comes over. They come over and they're like,
leave me alone.
hi.
The look on his face that day is something that won't leave me.
He's like Gohan. He's about to go Super Saiyan.
When they can't have a toy. Coming from a 17-year-old, that's much more disturbing.
Well, yeah, no, there's no wonder he has no friends. Like, they come over, and he looks out the window like, hi.
I looked under my bed.
Oh! Oh my god!
As I saw Joey.
Why did that scare me?
I ran.
Oh, why did that scare me so badly? Why is he crawling out of the bed like a zombie?
House and rang the bell at least 10 times.
Oh my gosh!
When they opened the door, Joey never came out of my house, so I called the police. His parents begged me not to, but I ignored them. The police found him still in my room and arrested him.
Still?
Apparently, he admitted this wasn't the first time he had hid under my bed. They also found pictures of me.
This dude has a Superman thing going on with his hair, like a little bit of hair sputtering out on his forehead.
And it was taken from inside my room.
Okay, I never understood that. I never understood the point of someone stalking someone else and taking a picture of them while they're sleeping. Like, people look so gross while they're sleeping. They're their hair is all messed up. They're drooling a lot. And their mouths are wide open and snoring like... Like, who would be attracted with that? But I'm not even questioning anymore. That's in the mind of a sicko. Let's just go ahead and move on. Alright guys, so the next one is called True Home Alone Stories 3.
I recently moved out, and I already have a horror story to tell. The house I moved
this
into
house is bad
just a
to the
house that's
app.
appropriate for one or two
There's a
people.
big house, got a pool in the back.
I'd say right away.
And yes, that is a joke from this old commercial. It's a big house, got a pool in the back.
I first heard
It's a 2-bedroom house, it's free, it's got a pool in the back.
it in the kitchen, and then in the bathroom. But on night 3, I started hearing it in my bedroom. I was sure there was some kind of animal living in my walls. I just had to figure out how to get rid of it. The next morning, I didn't even have enough milk to fill the bowl of cereal.
Got
I
milk.
couldn't believe I hadn't realized I needed more milk. In fact, I seemed to be eating
Is
up
this
all my
secretly
food
a
pretty fast.
got milk commercial?
I woke up in the middle of that night to the sound of breathing.
I'm sorry.
Not my breathing. It sounded just like the breathing of a person. I flipped the lamp on and it stopped. I chalked it up as my mind playing tricks on me after waking up.
Nope.
The next day was really hot, so I turned on the AC for the first time. I checked every single vent, and some of them weren't blowing any air, one of them being the vent right next to my bed. I peered through the vent with a flashlight. There wasn't even a duct behind the vent. It was just the inside of the wall.
Wait. My vent doesn't work, like, at all. Is there a rat up there? Or whatever he's gonna say? Does Llama Arts, knowing Llama Arts, I highly doubt it's just like a rat in this guy's vent.
It seemed that whatever air duct was in there had been removed. Unfortunately, I didn't look into the air conditioning system while buying the house, so I didn't know about this. That night, I had to sleep in the heat with no AC, so I was up pretty late, constantly rolling around and flipping the pillow over. Then I eventually started to hear the breathing
since
again.
my vent doesn't work,
But this time,
I
was
have to use
fully
a
awake.
fan.
I knew it was real this time.
It's right here
was
where I'm
coming to
pointing
my
at. You
left.
can probably see my finger. It's right
looked
here.
to my left
I'm
at the
below
air vents.
Grogu.
The sound was surely coming from in there. I grabbed the flashlight again and shined it in through the vent. I dropped it and screamed.
Oh, God.
There was someone's face peering through the cracks of the vents. The first
Oh!
thing I saw were their eyes, open wide and glowing.
The baby
I
blue
screamed all the
eyes!
way down and out the house. I soon found out there was a crazy, dangerous homeless man living in my walls, and he had been eating my food ever since I moved in.
What? he's just like, I don't like crust. Yo, but that is freaky though. You move into a new house and your vents are not working like at all, and you think it's just some animal, and you have to get money to pay for exterminator, and then you hear breathing coming from it. You look in there and there's a homeless man in your wall. No, I'm moving out. Alright guys, that's gonna wrap up today's Friday and Friday. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, comment down below what you thought, or what other videos I should react to next. And with all that being said, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Deuces. Man, I'm tired. 11 videos. Wow.